Why is the highest level of Dragon Ball FighterZ played on the PC? When you look at offline tournaments, usually players are playing using a PlayStation 4. It's the platform with the biggest player base, and yet, when you look at the Dragon Ball FighterZ National Championships, everyone is playing on PC except for Japan. And the reason why they're not playing on PC is because actually in Japan, Dragon Ball FighterZ PC doesn't even exist. Not only that, a lot of the top players choose to play on PC in their spare time. And even I made the transition to PC recently. The simple answer is that PC has less input delay. But I don't think a lot of people realize how big of a deal that actually is. And I don't think a lot of people realize the PC downsides either. It's kind of insane what the community is willing to suffer through in order to get a couple of frames shaved off of their input delay. And I hope to clarify a lot of these questions in this video. When talking about input delay, frame delay, it can get complicated really fast, so don't worry. I'm gonna keep everything simple so even a 3-year-old could understand what we're talking about. But first, a word from today's sponsor, Surfshark. I bet a lot of you guys already know the benefits of using a VPN, all the safety and privacy benefits, being able to browse the internet as if you're from another country. We've all been there. We want to watch something on Netflix or Crunchyroll, and the show you're looking for is not available in our country. Well, with a VPN, that's no longer a problem. And if you follow the link down below, for a limited time, you can get an 84% discount off of a 2-year plan and 4 extra months for free. That's already crazy affordable for an average VPN, but Surfshark specifically has a few features that really take it to the next level. First of all, this is my normal internet speed, and this is my speed on Surfshark. There's absolutely no significant difference, and it works on unlimited devices, which means I can have my VPN active on my desktop, my tablet, my phone, my cousin's phone, all with just a single account. So follow the link down below, 84% discount plus 4 months for free on a 2-year plan. And Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to even try it out for yourself. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video. The root of this problem lies in the Dragon Ball FighterZ netcode. When you play a game online, you'll see that indicator telling you how much delay you have between you and your opponent. This delay-based netcode is regarded by many to be, well, terrible. There is good delay-based netcode. It exists out there, and rollback netcode, which everyone is always asking for, isn't always the answer. There have definitely been a lot of examples of bad rollback. But Dragon Ball FighterZ is the worst of both worlds. It's delay-based, and it's bad. Some players outright refuse to play this game online because it's impossible to play at the level and the quality that they're used to. Sonic Fox is one such example. And when one of the top players in the world doesn't want to play your game online, you know you have a problem. The Dragon Ball FighterZ National Championships have made this problem even more evident. We have 4 championships happening on PC, and we have Japan happening on PS4. And if you look at those games, you can clearly tell how much the online is a problem in general. But how much of a bigger problem is it on PS4 versus the PC? Japan has arguably the best lineup out of the entire championship series, the best players out of all of them, and yet they have the worst games. You have the best defense in the world, Goichi, getting hit by universal overheads and dragon rushes, mashing buttons on block because it's literally impossible to react to your opponent's options. Compared to France's matches, Japan looks like a bunch of scrubs. And it's all because they're on PS4, since Dragon Ball FighterZ on PC doesn't exist in Japan. So what's the problem? How different are these platforms? Let's talk about it and give you some practical examples. The time that it takes you from pressing a button to the game acknowledging that you pressed the button is different depending on whether you're playing on PS4 or PC. How much of a difference, you ask? Let's look at the numbers. On PS4, it takes on average 75.1 milliseconds. On PC, with default settings, it takes 57.1 milliseconds. 18 millisecond difference isn't that big of a deal. Or is it? Let's talk about frames. Dragon Ball FighterZ is a game that runs at 60 frames per second. Each frame takes approximately 16.7 milliseconds. If the difference on PC is 18 milliseconds by default, that's already 1 frame of a difference. Let's keep going. The problem with PC Dragon Ball FighterZ on default is that it has VSync turned on. VSync actually adds input delay. For most Unreal Engine 4 titles, it adds around 50 milliseconds of delay. So let's turn off VSync, shaving off 50 milliseconds of delay, and now the PC version only has 7.1 milliseconds of delay, meaning a total difference of 68 milliseconds over the PS4. 68 milliseconds means about a 4-frame difference between PC and PS4. If you ever played a match on a 1-frame delay, what about a 5-frame delay? Did those matches feel any different to you? That's the difference you can expect from PS4 to PC. And the delay on PC could actually be a bit more. We are estimating how much VSync actually adds, but I don't have the tools to do the science right now, so let's just say that all of these values are estimated. The goal of this video is to give you an idea idea of the difference between PC and PS4 and not really to give you the absolute frame data. Let's go online. On a good connection, you can expect that indicator to say 1 to 2 frames delay. Let's just assume 2 frames for the rest of this video. On PS4, these players are playing with a delay of 108.5 milliseconds, so even though it says 2 frames at the bottom, in reality both players have a delay of 6 to 7 frames. While on the PC, with that 2 frame delay on the bottom, the real delay is only between 2 to 3 frames. By the way, this is all assuming that you're playing the game on a monitor with only 1 millisecond of delay. If you're on a TV, you probably need to add another 20 to 30 milliseconds, depends on the TV. Different TVs have different delays, and that's assuming they have a game mode, like a low latency mode. So let's just not have that whole conversation. Let's assume everyone's on a monitor, 1 millisecond delay. Playing this game online with a 2 frame delay actually means 7 frames on the PS4 and 3 frames on the PC. Let's look at some practical applications of what that means in game. Here's a mix-up. Fairly basic, it's a standard string into the universal overhead, which means the opponent has to stand up to block it. This move has a startup of 24 frames. Seems very reactable, but what is a reactable move actually? I actually asked some Dragon Ball FighterZ pros to take this test. It's pretty simple. When the box turns green, you click your mouse button. I also asked some folks on Discord to do the same to get some average players' reactions, and the results were actually fairly similar between the two groups, around 200 milliseconds reaction time, except for Tim. God damn it, Tim! This test isn't exactly science. Reacting to the green screen isn't the same as reacting to a mix in-game. You practice your defense for those specific situations. So take this data with a grain of salt, but it shows that the average player has a reaction time of around 200 milliseconds, which is actually supported by what this website says right below the test. 200 milliseconds converts to exactly 12 frames, which means anything faster than 12 frames is not reactable by an average player. The universal overhead is 24 frames, so far we're good. Well, on a PS4, you have to add those additional 7 frames if you're playing online on a 2 frame delay connection, meaning you only have 17 frames to react. The average human can react in 12 frames, so it's still not a problem. Except this test is all about a single thing. All you have to do is click your mouse button after it changes color, which means you're not only reacting to this event, you're also anticipating it. You're reading what's gonna happen. And in Dragon Ball FighterZ, you're not reading that the universal overhead is gonna happen to you. You're looking out for a bunch of different options. And that makes it extremely hard to react to this on a PS4. On PC, however, instead of 17 frames to react, you would have 21 frames, almost double the average human's reaction time, making this option much easier to block on PC. Sorry if I bored you with the numbers. I promise we're done talking about numbers. But I hope this was good enough to illustrate how much easier it is reacting to moves on PC versus the PS4, and the reason why Japanese players are mashing out of block and France has godlike defense. This migration to the PC has certainly escalated by the lack of offline tournaments. With the current pandemic, a lot of players are missing that experience, myself included. We have to play online because there won't be any offline events for a really long time. The thing is, under the best conditions, that is 2 players with an optimal setup and 1 frame of delay between them, net play on PC can feel like offline on PS4. And ultimately, that's why we see so many players migrating. Now, that's not to say that PC doesn't have its downsides. It's got a lot of downsides. First of all, achieving this optimal setup is not easy. There's a lot you need to do to set up your game. I'll leave you a link in the description if you want to follow a guide. It's also different depending on your setup, and I can guarantee that 95% of players haven't gone through this process. Second of all, on PS4 the game runs great without any frame drops. On PC, that depends on your setup once again. Dragon Ball FighterZ runs on a lot of machines thanks to its different graphical options, but no one wants to play a game that looks like this. Or maybe you do. I kinda like the aesthetic. But most players will try to make their game look as good as possible while running decently. The problem is, if your PC stutters, so does your opponent's. It looks like lag, it may even look like Wi-Fi, but in reality it's a computer that's not able to handle an animation. It feels a lot more random if you're gonna have a stable match on PC rather than on PS4, because at least on PS4 you don't have to worry about the optimal setup. On PC you see frames dropping and you gotta wonder if it's your fault, if you have to, tone down your settings, or if it's actually your opponent. It's a lot harder to nail down a problem when playing on PC, and even though PC struggles with this, most players still choose to play on PC because of the numbers that we just spent most of this video talking about. Those numbers make that big of a difference when playing this game online, because suddenly you can react to a lot of options instead of having to guess the most basic mix-ups. Defense becomes a part of your game instead of it being completely random whether you're going to be able to block or not. And I was secretly hoping that the PS5 would be better at this, but it seems that the input delay is actually slightly bigger, between 3 to 4 milliseconds extra over the PS4, which isn't a noticeable difference. We're not talking about 3 to 4 frames, we're talking milliseconds. It's just disappointing because I was hoping for an improvement rather than it being pretty much the same. So anyway, I hope this video has enlightened some of you as to why players are moving to the PC and why I myself moved to the PC. Why Dragon Ball FighterZ at the highest level right now is played on the PC rather than the PS4. Not saying I play Dragon Ball FighterZ at the highest level, but I do play it on Twitch. If you'd like to see me struggle on the PC, it's a whole other beast, but it's a lot of fun. Twitch.tv/Globku, link down below. This migration is a result of the times we live in, with everyone being quarantined, as well as the terrible netcode that Dragon Ball FighterZ has. But would I recommend you guys buy this game on PC if you have the chance? Not really. Depends on the type of player you want to become. If you want to grind this game and get really good, then yes, PC is 100% the best option. But if you're just trying to have fun playing casually, PS4 is still probably the best platform, purely because of the player base. And on top of that, you don't have to fiddle around with a bunch of different settings trying to get it to run great and look as good as it can. Shout out to today's sponsor, Surfshark. Click the link down below for that insane discount. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku and I'll see you next time. Bye.